Hello everyone and welcome to the video. In this video, we will see how to create restriction rules in Salesforce. Before starting this video, here is an announcement for you. We would like to inform you that we have recently launched a course specially for Salesforce administrator, and even if you are a beginner, then you will easily understand the topic and content of the course. Here you can see our course curriculum. We have created different modules. You can get this course by clicking on enroll in course. You will have a lifetime access for this course, and also you can subscribe this course through the link in description box. Let's jump to the topic. So let's understand basically what is a restriction rule. The restriction rules are used to enhance org security by allowing certain users to access particular records. After applying the restriction rule, the user can access only data that matches criteria that you specified. Then here the restriction rules only available in Salesforce Lightning. We cannot create restriction rules in Salesforce Classic. Then we can create only 2 active restriction rules on a developer edition and the enterprise edition, and up to 5 restriction rule in the performance and unlimited editions. Now here is a limitation that we can create restriction rules on contacts, task, event and all custom objects and external objects. Except these, we cannot create restriction rules on another objects. And also, we cannot apply restriction rule when any user have a permission of view all and modify all by the sharing settings. Then, what is the restriction rule in Salesforce? Here I have explained in a simple words. When the restriction rule applies to the user, then he can see only those records that the user granted via OWD, sharing rule and other sharing mechanisms are filtered by criteria that you specified. Then here we will see when we can restriction rules use in Salesforce, then how does a restriction rule affect other sharing settings, and how create restriction rule in Salesforce. I will explain all these questions in the org while creating a restriction rule. Let's understand when can we use a restriction rule in Salesforce. Let's understand this by scenario. So let's take a scenario. There is a user A and he has access to read, create, update and delete of employee objects. That means he has access of employee object where he can create, read, update and delete records. Now here is a requirement for that particular user. We only want to show those records whose domain is a Salesforce. And in a restriction rules, we have to select user criteria. For that, this user is A has an alias of emusk. I hope you have an idea what is alias means. So let's make a restriction rules using this scenario. Now we are on the Salesforce org, and as per our scenario, we have to make restriction rule on an employee object. For that, click on the object manager. In the quick find box, search for employee. I have created employee as a custom object, and here you can scroll down and you can see here is option of a restriction rule. Click on a restriction rule. Now understand this image. After we creating a user, we have to give some permissions from an organization while default. After that, we have sharing mechanisms that are optional, and then restriction rules comes in the picture, where the restriction rule filter records based on user and the record criteria. Those record filter by restriction rule, that record user can see. So let's create a restriction rule. For that, here you can see create a new rule, or you can simply click on a new rule button. We have to enter some necessary details, where rule name. Here I have entered the rule name as a Salesforce domain because I want to show only those records where the domain field has a value of Salesforce. The full name is automatically populated because this is the API name. Then here you can enter some description and then click on the is active checkbox, because if you not click on this checkbox, then this rule will not apply on this object. Then here we have to choose the user criteria. For that, find a field text box. Then here we have to select one field by which we can select user criteria. Here you can see all these fields we have seen when we create a user. Now as per our scenario, we have to select alias is equal to any value. Now where we can get this alias, for that we have to navigate on a users. For that, click on the setup. In the quick find box, search for the user, click on the user, and here you can see we have an alias option. Now we have to paste this alias in a value field. Now our user criteria is defined, and then we need to select the record criteria. Again click on the find a field. Here we can see all the employee fields is displayed. Now using this any field we have to select the record criteria. As per our scenario, we have to select the domain, select on a choose, and this domain data type is a pick list. As we click on a value field, you can see all the pick list values is coming up. Now we have to select for Salesforce and then click on save button. Now you can see our role name. We haven't given any description, and his role is active, yes. Then user criteria and the record criteria. Our role has successfully created. Now we will see on the records this restriction rule has applied or not. For that, click on the app launcher and search for the employee. Here I can see all domains. That means you will think the restriction rule is not applied. But as per our rule, we have select the particular user alias. So for these restriction rules applies on that particular user. For that we have to log in with that user, and here you can see, for that you can see here the immersed alias of username as a Evans Emma, and we have to log in with that user. So click on the login. Here you can see we have logged in as a Emma Evans, and we are on the employee object. Click on a employee list view and click on a all list. Now here you can see here only showing those record which domain is a Salesforce. This is how we can create restriction rule and apply on a particular object or applies on a particular user. Now comes back to our questions. Now we have seen when we can use restriction rules and how to create restriction rules in a Salesforce. Now we have a question: how does the restriction rules affect other sharing settings? So we know when we create the user, very first security is the profile level. For this question, we can say the user get access of record level from organization wide defaults and other sharing settings. When the restriction rule is applied to the user, the record they had access to from sharing settings only records matching the record criteria. That means it does not affect on any sharing settings. Only they can see those records which we have defined the record criteria. I hope you have liked the video. If you like the video, then click on the like button and hit the subscribe button, and also click on the notification icon to get the regular updates. Thank you everyone.